Hi, my name is Tiffany Poteet. Thank you for joining us for the first episode of our new podcast entitled Skin and Surgery. I'm a board-certified plastic and reconstructive surgeon.
And I'm Tiffany Poteet. I'm a board-certified nurse practitioner, and we're married, and we live and work in Marysville and Worthington, Ohio. So disclaimer, I did not get into skin health or skin care until a couple years ago. So my background, I was a surgical ICU nurse for about 5 years in Nashville, Tennessee at Vanderbilt. And there I obtained my nurse practitioner degree. And then we moved to Columbus, Ohio for Stevens Fellowship Program. And here in Columbus, I worked as an open heart surgery nurse practitioner for several years. And then we started our plastic and reconstructive surgery practice a couple years ago. And that's where I really started doing a deep dive into skin care, aesthetic interventions, and how I can take my background knowledge of nursing education that I obtained and how I can apply it actually to skin health. Our body is just an amazing machine that works together. So I can pull what I learned from cardiac care and the inflammatory process in the ICU and how it all relates to our current practice.
Yeah, and that really relates to my journey also. I mean, I initially worked in the academic environment doing plastic and reconstructive surgery for a number of years at Ohio State. And we always just wanted to work together, kind of create a practice that would allow us to work together. And so this was just a natural combination of those interests. And so I do a lot of cosmetic and reconstructive surgery and some non-invasive treatments as well. And skin health is a really important part of that. So we wanted this podcast to really be about both of those things, which hopefully will be really interesting to a lot of our patients and listeners.
Yeah, it was a big shift to go from caring for critically ill patients to now my focus is on skin health and helping people look and feel better. And while that's very important, it was just a shift in mindset. But the cool thing that I started noticing was as I started treating patients. So it could be with intense pulse light, right? It could be getting them on a good skincare regimen, having them starting to wear sunscreen. Whenever they would come back for subsequent visits, I would see little changes in their lifestyle. So all of a sudden they're eating a little bit healthier. Maybe they're wearing sunscreen. Maybe they're not going to the tanning bed anymore as much or at all, hopefully. And so seeing those little changes was really cool for me to be like, okay, so this isn't just focusing on aesthetic, although that's important. This is also resulting in overall lifestyle change, healthy lifestyle change.
Yeah, no, that's a great observation. And it definitely relates to what we want to try and provide patients, which is an improvement in quality of life, but an improvement in health, really. And so we always kind of had a dream of working together, even back in our training days. You know, it was something we wanted to do is how can we figure out a way to combine our skills and education. And so this has really been an awesome opportunity for us to do that together. And
time out. Listen, awesome opportunity, but I never would have never would have predicted this is where I would be. I always thought we'd be working together, maybe in the ICU or maybe somewhere else. And we did for a brief period of time. But I never thought this would be what working together would look like. And it's awesome. I mean, we've really dug into our roles and this new stage of life. And
oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think, life often has a way of taking turns that you don't anticipate. And I think we're both, really fortunate to be in this position. Yeah, I thought for a long time I would be a pediatrician or a family doctor. And so a lot of those things change when you get into your career further and make choices about what you really enjoy.
And then here he is dragging me into a podcast room to do a podcast.
Right. Okay. So anyway, that is a good summary of our background, how we got to this point. But we really just want to focus on how we can help patients. The cosmetic and visual part of it is really important, but what we love most is really just seeing people thrive and be healthy and improving their quality of life, whether it's through breast cancer reconstruction or, wound care or, a facelift or other, cosmetic procedures. In this first episode, we really wanted to introduce an interesting article that we came across that really kind of cast the vision for why we feel like skin health is such an important part of our overall health. And so we thought we'd go through the article and talk about the details of it and kind of why we found it interesting. This was an article we came across in August of 2023 that was published in the BBC by an author named Zaria Gorvet. And the title of the article is "The Curious Ways Your Skin Shapes Your Health."
And I had multiple people send me the link to this article. So my dad sent me the link to this article. You sent me the link to the article. Several friends sent me the link to the article. And whenever I read it, I thought, yes, this is exactly what we're trying to accomplish in our practice.
Yeah, exactly. It really demonstrates very well this link between skin health and your overall health.
Yeah, and so for me, one of the most profound lines from the article, and one that I'll probably reuse in practice, and it seems very simple, and it is a simple concept, but it's one that we often overlook. Our skin is a mirror for our lifestyles, so it reflects years drinking, smoking, sun, stress, our diet, and it hints at our inner health.
Right, yeah, there's a real connection there, which the skin, we're taught in our education, is the largest organ in the body, that it is dynamic. It has important roles of protecting your organs and protecting you from the environment, keeping you healthy. And so there are all these things that we know about, but you just don't really think about your skin kind of being an active player in your overall health and wellness.
Yeah, and the article referenced the Baltimore longitudinal study in 1958 that followed thousands of adult males and eventually females to see how their health developed. And one of the striking findings confirmed what we suspected. So at the beginning of the study, men that looked older than their stated age were more likely to end up dead in 20 years. I know that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. So we're more likely to end up dead in 20 years as opposed to those that looked more youthful at the beginning of the study. So this is all based on just appearance. This isn't taking into account a person's labs, their blood pressure, their heart rate, all the things that we typically look at whenever we're looking at life expectancy or longevity. This was just looking at somebody's physical appearance.
Yeah, which is sort of interesting to think about because, every study that is done has what we call biases. And so there are things that aren't perfect about every study. But in this study in particular has some weaknesses, but it does show this really interesting link between how someone's skin appears and how they look in terms of the aging process and how long they're actually going to live.
And might I say, this was before Botox and fillers. So this was none of the men at the beginning of the study had any Botox, had any fillers, had any laser therapy. So this was just simply taking care of their skin and their health.
Right. Yeah, it was back before a lot of the modern things that we have now, really good sunscreen and sun protection and knowledge of, things that are harmful to our skin and our health. So, Tiffany, what is it about skin and aging? I know there are some, maybe if you don't mind, mention some of the common things that happen as the skin ages. And then this article found something really interesting about how that relates to the rest of our body.
Yeah, so as our skin ages, we know we get uneven skin tone, reduced elasticity.
We also get inflammation as our cells die, as they're not functioning as properly. We have breakdown of our skin barrier, and this results in systemic inflammation. So we get these inflammatory mediators that are traveling throughout our body, affecting our organs. So it's this concept of not only is skin a canvas for our inner health, but it's also playing a role in our inner health.
Right. And a lot of the things that cause inflammation of the skin, whether it be UV exposure, tanning, environmental, factors, all these things that can play a role, develop inflammation and cause inflammation in the skin. And then this inflammation has a downstream effect on the rest of the body. And this is a process that we call
inflammaging,
which is really fun to say.
5 times really quick. Just go ahead in your car, say it 5 times.
Right. And it basically just means that inflammation in one part of the body can affect the health of another part of the body. So skin inflammation has effects in other places.
Yeah. So interestingly, aged or diseased skin has been linked to cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, cognitive impairment. Now, do I think it's just our skin that contributes to these chronic illnesses or diseases? Absolutely not, but it's all interrelated. And as we're going to say again and again and again, we cannot omit the largest organ, which is our skin, and think that it will not have some sort of impact on our health.
Right. Yeah, and it's important. If you think about how we interact with our environment, it really is through our skin. Everything that we touch, everything that we eat, that we drink, a lot of the things that we are exposed to, clothing, air pollution, things
it takes
that
a licking and just keeps on ticking.
That's right. Things that we come in contact with.
Our skin is the first.
That's right. It filters
defense
through
mechanism.
Filters through the skin, and so there's so many amazing things, and we'll hopefully get to this later in the podcast. But it's all these really cool things in our skin, like pressure receptors and specialized cells that are responsible for, helping build our immune system. And so it's really a pretty incredible organ in and of itself.
So in conclusion, we want to thank the BBC article, The Curious Ways Your Skin Shapes Your Health, for giving us a topic for our first podcast.
Yeah, we're really excited to keep moving through the article with you and talking more in detail about
I think the article's done. It just gave us the topic for the first podcast.
Well, we're going to get more into like the skin aging process and everything in the next episode or two. But it is really a neat relationship here. The skin does have an active role in our overall health and contributes to health. And so that's why we feel like it's really important to optimize skin health and have that be an important part of our overall wellness.
Yeah, well said.
The name of our practice is Ohio Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery, and we have offices in Worthington, Ohio, and in Marysville, Ohio. You can find out more information about the services we offer and learn a little bit more about us and our practice at our website, which is www.ohioprs.com. Also, you can feel free to contact us anytime. The best email to do that is info@ohioprs.com. You can also find us online. Our Instagram handle is @ohioprs, and you can also find us on Facebook.
And thanks to Maggio for providing the music and production for this podcast. A link to their information is provided in the description.